There's a great piece in the Wall Street Journal today by Michael Boskin. He's an economist. He's at the Hoover Institute. He's professor of economics at Stanford University. Said the old bromide that sit-ins elect presidents for protection from other people's congressmen was reversed last November when a Congress was elected for protection from the president. He said this week House Republicans have been debating how to cut the ballooning budget after ramming through an expansion of federal spending to levels not approached since World War II. Obama's now calling for still more spending, with a renewed emphasis on infrastructure that he claims will create jobs and economic growth. Let's put this in perspective, with the Congressional Budget Office now projecting a federal deficit this year alone of $1.5 trillion. Obama is on course to add as much debt in one term as all 43 previous presidents combined. He's on course to add as much debt in one term as all 43 previous presidents combined. And he is not done. Not surprisingly, the rating agency Standard & Poor's is warning of a Treasury downgrade. Yes, the president's calling for a freeze on non-defense discretionary spending, which is 18% of the budget. But this would leave that spending more than 20% higher than already elevated 2008 levels where Republicans would like to return. So having, in other words, massively increased discretionary spending over 2 years, which includes the stimulus bill, that's the point. Now he's saying, okay, we'll freeze it right here. Freeze it right here. He's freezing in the increase on the stimulus amount. Remember, that was a one-time expense. Well, what he wants to do is make that the baseline now. Scary. The freeze also cements in place a huge expansion of government originally sold as temporary. All right, that's my point. Now, let's be clear, because it was a huge lie, and once again the media was spoon-fed it and spit it back out. He's saying freeze discretionary spending at its current level. What he means is almost $1 trillion in increase over the increase already that he built into discretionary spending. That's where that so-called stimulus spending came from. He's saying, let's freeze that in. See that? I'm freezing discretionary spending. And the Republicans are saying, whoa, whoa, whoa. We want to go pre-stimulus. That's why this president is a liar. That's right, I said it. He wants you to believe he's fiscally responsible. He's the most fiscally disastrous president in American history. He goes on, Mr. Boskin, or Dr. Boskin, says, Obama's budget director, Jacob Lew, asserts that the president has made tough choices, pointing to $775 million of proposed cuts. But that's 0.1% of non-defense discretionary spending. Obama and his supporters dubiously claim higher spending will quickly strengthen the recovery and generate jobs, and that any draconian cuts will derail the economy. Higher spending, deficits, and debt are future problems, they argue, and even then, higher taxes, especially on the rich, won't harm the economy. Well, government spending generally does little to boost the economy. Exhibit A, the failed 2009 stimulus bill. The strongest case for stimulus is increased military spending during recessions. But infrastructure spending, as the president proposes, is poorly designed for anti-recession job creation. And he discusses that at length. He says in the 1980s and 90s, federal spending was reduced by more than 5% of GDP to 8.4% in 2000, a level sufficient to balance the budget at full employment and allow for lower tax rates. Let me explain this, ladies and gentlemen. The Reagan tax rate reductions, capital gains tax rate reductions, corporate income tax reductions, pro-investment, pro-expansion policies went on for decades, created all kinds of wealth, jobs, businesses, inventions. That's what happened. In the 1980s and 90s, federal spending was reduced by more than 5% of GDP to 18.4% in 2000. Now we're almost at 25%. He said it was a remarkable period of growth, and there's no reason we can't repeat that success. In addition to rolling back Obamacare and rolling up remaining TARP and stimulus funds, spending control should include three major reforms: consolidate, eliminate, defederalize where feasible, voucherize where flexible block grants are possible, adopt successful business practices where possible, gradually move from wage to price indexing of individual Social Security benefits. And he goes on. The point is, folks, there are potential solutions to what's going on. But we have a president, we have a Democrat Party. Listen to Schumer. Listen to Pelosi. Listen to Obama, who don't want to solve the problems because they do not want to let go of your money. They do not want to let go of these massive programs. They don't want to cut. And when they say they're cutting, they're not, except, of course, when it comes to defense and NASA. This is very, very serious. And there are things that can be done. This is why it's crucial that we take back the Senate, and it's crucial that we win the presidency.